400 soldiers died because a room full of geniuses privately thought the plan was insane, and every single one of them stayed silent. 1961. A group of some of the brightest political and military minds in America, including the president, senior military officials, and cabinet members, approved the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba. It was a disaster of extraordinary proportions. Thousands of American-backed fighters were killed or captured. The United States was internationally humiliated. In the postmortem, historians and psychologists found that virtually every member of the decision-making group had serious private doubts about the plan, and almost none of them said anything. That silence, and the catastrophe it produced, is the defining case study for one of the most important and underappreciated forces in organizational psychology. Groupthink is a psychological phenomenon that occurs within a cohesive group, where the desire for harmony and conformity overrides realistic appraisal of alternatives. The term was coined by social psychologist Irving Janis in 1972, who defined it as a mode of thinking where the drive to reach consensus is so strong that it suppresses dissent, critical evaluation, and individual judgment. Janis studied several major U.S. policy failures: the Bay of Pigs, the escalation of Vietnam, the Pearl Harbor response, and found a consistent pattern. Groups that should have caught their own errors were systematically failing to do so, not because of incompetence, but because of social dynamics that made criticism feel dangerous. Janis identified 8 specific symptoms that indicate a group is in a groupthink state. The first is an illusion of invulnerability. The group develops excessive optimism and takes extreme risks because they believe nothing can go wrong for them. The second is collective rationalization. Members discount warnings that might prompt reconsideration of their assumptions. The third is a belief in the group's inherent morality. Members assume their cause is right and therefore don't examine the ethical consequences of decisions. The fourth is stereotyping of outgroups. Rivals or opponents are seen as too evil to negotiate with or too weak to threaten the plan. The fifth is direct pressure on dissenters. Members who express doubt are pressured to conform. The sixth is self-censorship. Individuals with doubts decide not to voice them to avoid conflict. The seventh is the illusion of unanimity. Silence is interpreted as agreement. The eighth is self-appointed mind guards. Some members take it upon themselves to protect the group from information that might challenge consensus. The Bay of Pigs is dramatic, but groupthink operates in every organization, family, and social group where cohesion matters more than truth. The management team that approves an obviously flawed strategy because the CEO is enthusiastic and nobody wants to be the person who rains on the parade. The family that pretends a relative's addiction isn't happening because naming it would create conflict. The startup that burns through its runway because every meeting ends with enthusiasm and nobody consistently brought the hard questions. The common thread is the prioritization of social harmony over epistemic accuracy. And the worst thing about groupthink is that it feels like cohesion. It feels like alignment. It feels like a team that's working well together. The distress signals, the private doubts, the withheld concerns are invisible from inside the group. Janis proposed several structural interventions. The most important, designating an explicit devil's advocate, someone whose role is to argue against the emerging consensus, regardless of their personal view. By institutionalizing dissent, you remove the social cost of being the person who objects. The second, having the leader explicitly state that they want criticism. Kennedy's post-Bay of Pigs decision-making process changed to actively solicit opposing views, with the president sometimes leaving the room to prevent his presence from shutting down disagreement. The third, breaking the group into smaller subgroups that work on the same problem independently, then comparing outputs. Diversity of process generates diversity of conclusion. And the simplest, creating a norm where meetings don't end until at least one person has articulated the strongest possible argument against the decision being made. not to prevent action, but to ensure the action is chosen, not just defaulted to. The smartest people in the room are not immune to groupthink. The most cohesive team is often the one most at risk. The willingness to say the thing nobody else is saying, to be the person who slows down a consensus that's moving too fast, is not negativity or sabotage. It is, in conditions where groupthink is operating, the most valuable thing you can do for the group. And the groups that can hear it, that have made it safe to hear it, are the ones that make fewer catastrophic decisions. Drop a comment. Have you ever been in a group where everyone privately disagreed but nobody said anything? How did that end? And subscribe. New psychology breakdown every week.